All right, it is 6 o'clock. We'll call the March 18th Planning Commission meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Dana, do you want to do a roll call?
Well,
Or we're all? Sandy? It's all yours.
Christina, did you want to do roll call? Or?
I mean, I can.
Okay.
Sandy Flora.
Present.
Spencer King.
Present.
Me. Present. Dick Bradshaw.
Present.
Brian Garrison.
Present.
Jacob Christ.
Present.
Danny Meyer.
Present.
We're all here.
Yay. All right. I hope everybody got a chance to read the minutes of the meeting from February 20th. Are there any additions or corrections? Okay, here.
Make a motion to approve.
Make a motion that we accept.
Dick made a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting.
Second.
In a second.
Got there.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all in favor of the existing minutes of the meeting? So say yay.
Okay.
And opposed, same sign. All right.
Just to touch on that real quick. So the second I sent out the dockets to everyone, appears to be the exact same time our server went down for a short second. So I apologize that you didn't get it, and thank you for bringing it to my attention. And I'm not real sure why. I sent her what I uploaded onto the website and all that today, and it had the meeting minutes on, didn't it?
Yeah, but the one on Facebook.
But the one on, yeah, so the one that went on the website and Facebook did not. So I'm not sure why. Maybe it was part of the glitch, but yeah, that was the reason why it did not make it to you guys, is because the server just happened to go down at that exact time. So thank you for calling that to my attention. And
Just getting ready to meet a second.
yeah, so I appreciate that. So, but the issue was fixed, and I don't know if it was from the storm or from whatever, but they did look into it and it's resolved. So thank you.
Was there any changes to the agenda? All right, hearing none. And now we'll go on to the old business. Have the old business. Our new business is going to be the public hearing. Docket PC 23-006-MS. We have a petitioner that is requesting approval for his primary plat and secondary plat for the minor residential subdivision for 3 lots in a common area just off of Robinson Street. So, petitioner, do you want to start?
I have some documents, Deb, do you want them or do I give them to Cameron? These are the.
For the file or for the
these are
plan?
the notice, and I think there's a notarized document in there as well. Well, thank you, everybody. I feel like it's been a number of times that I've been here, so.
Mark, can you
For some
back
of you-
up just a little bit?
Say it again,
Can you
please?
back up just a
Sure.
little bit?
Yeah, so as mentioned, we are we're in the throes of trying to get approved to build 3 duplex structures over on Robinson. I think that all of you have received the plat and all of the information in your packet. I don't have a lot to add to that. I'm here. I'll certainly am available to answer any questions you all might have, but there's particularly one thing that I want to bring up to all of you, and I'll also direct. Back up a little bit.
No, no.
I'll also
Straight back.
direct this, young visitors that are here tonight, for this hearing. There's been, at the last time that we met, I think, which was to finalize the special exception. During public comments, it was raised that this project is government subsidized and a number of other inaccuracies. And I want to make sure that I clear the air so that you all know exactly what's going on here, as well as the public. This project in no way is subsidized by any government entity or anyone. We're not receiving any money assistance, any kind of financial help whatsoever to construct this. This is all being paid for by my wife and I. And as far as renting goes, we are not at all affiliated with section house rental agreements. There is nothing of any government agency whatsoever where we're accepting rent subsidies for renters. We own, we have, I think, 10 houses here. Well, we have about 14 homes right now, and they all have been completely renovated top to bottom. And they're beautiful homes, and they rent, the cheapest rent that we have is $1,500 a month, and they go up to $2,400 a month. And so there's no subsidy of any kind. There's no government, these are not government rentals. And I just want to make sure that that's very clearly understood. Outside of that, I don't want to, very respectful of all of your time. I don't want to be redundant in what's in the packet, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you all have.
Mark, what's the rental on these?
Well, it's projected to be right now, around the $1,500 area.
And that's for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath,
Yes.
full garage.
Garage, yep.
On your proposed project on Robinson Street,
Mhm.
you have 3 units in there, and then you have almost a 1/4 space that nothing in it. What's the plan for using that space?
So we regard that as a common area, and its primary functional purpose, that's the lowest point on the property. And I had a very formal drainage study done, a hydrologic drainage study done. My civil engineers here and can answer any particular questions you have on that way better than I can. But in a nutshell, the rain runoff on the property right now would naturally go to that area. Because of the soil conditions, the soil types percolates well, and it's a natural drainage field. So we don't want to put any structures on that so that we would inhibit its ability to drain in any way.
You're not required to have a retention pond on that?
No.
Another question, there is which would I guess be the west side of that property. There is, at least shows on the map, that there's a circle drive.
Yes.
Is that an active circle drive, and is it used, or?
Well, I can't speak to its use. It's a cul-de-sac on, is that Elizabeth?
Elizabeth Street,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I've driven it many times, and there's no purpose for people to drive that other than if someone is driving the road and goes to the end to turn to want to come back, or the property owners that are immediately adjacent to that turn area.
Is there a chance that could be connected to your road or not?
Well, there's a potential. We tried that. The problem is that we would have to acquire property on either side of that to have access to be able to get back to the Robinson Street property. We talked to both homeowners. One homeowner was not interested in selling at all, had no plan to sell. The other, actually, an investor bought that house and was rehabbing it. I don't know the current status of it. But he was not interested. He, was rehabbing that house, and I don't know if he was going to rent it or if he had intentions to sell it, but we kind of fell off of it as an opportunity, potential opportunity.
Who will have the responsibility for that street?
I will. The owner of this property, are you talking about on Robinson for our development?
Yeah, where it exits from Robin.
That will be specifically called out in the covenants, I believe, Deb, is where it's at. But that will solely be the responsibility of the property owner, which will be myself, or in the event, at some point in the future, if we were to ever sell it, it's written right within the plat, that it will never be the responsibility of the city and will always be the responsibility of the property owner.
Will these, I think the two of these are gonna be similar, one's gonna be different.
Correct.
Are they in any way similar to the ones on Washington Street?
I would say very similar.
What about the two-story? What
The 2 stories, so we're getting ready to construct another 2-story, about 100 yards west of the one that's going up right now. And that's it's a smaller design building because the footprint is smaller. But the one that we're building at Robinson is larger in terms of square footage. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath unit. But we didn't have the width and the length because of the setback requirement. So I had to find a new building design that would give us the square footage that we felt the market is requiring, but that would fit within the buildable area on that lot. So we chose I'm happy to show you here what it looks like. I did bring a copy of it.
Yes. Well.
While they're looking at that, I have a question about the common area. It's not really gonna be, I'm not a drainage expert, but it's gonna be concrete, right? So
Yeah.
it's not gonna be.
No,
quite
it'll just be, actually, it'll be green space. And it will be regularly mowed, taken care of. I've
Oh,
been
am I
out,
confusing that with where the parking is probably?
no, on that common area, and we'll address parking.
Yeah.
We really don't want to build anything on that. That just, it would work against,
Right,
allowing
Right.
nature to work.
I just thought it was, in my mind, it was concrete.
Yeah,
It was gonna
no.
be parking, but I
It's
was
all
thinking-
green space, it's like a parking, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all-
That's where I thought the 6 parking spots would
I thought you
be.
mentioned somewhere in the comment, there's gonna be a parking slip for 67 spots.
It was a recommendation, but
Yeah,
I
but they can't
think when we
use
get to that, I can demonstrate that we'll have plenty of ample parking. We have the road that comes in to service the 3 buildings is about 210 feet long.
Okay,
And particularly on the south side, there is plenty of room. The road will be 20 feet wide. And if we pull off,
I don't think-
a couple of tires just off on the grass, if there's somebody throws a big party or a baby shower or something along that line. That would be more than ample parking for 6 vehicles. So with 130 feet from the roadway up, divided by 6, that's 21 feet. And it doesn't take 21 feet of space per car to accommodate those 6 cars. So, on the chance that something like that would happen, I think that we can absorb that very easily.
okay. Thank you for clarifying the town areas it's been.
Yeah.
Is that road, in compliance with the city? In other words, is that the same thing, Cameron, that the city's building at Bowen Estates? Would those streets be comparable in size,
As far as ingress, egress,
width and sidewalk, curbs and stuff like that?
I don't believe you've got sidewalk or curb on there.
This would be considered.
No, this is a private subdivision, yeah. So
Oh,
whereas it's public infrastructure where you have to have. So the public has to meet NDOT's design standards, which means. the book that's about this thick, if we want to continue to get grant money, there's a way that we have to build it according to NDOT. So this is completely separate, being a subdivision, private
What would the
subdivision. So
basic difference be between what's being put to Bowen Estates versus what you're putting out there?
I'm not sure that I'm familiar with Bowen Estates. Is that the new project, the 238-acre project?
yes,
I haven't seen any of the specifications. Those will be actual, I would assume.
those will have
city
curb
streets.
gutter. Those will actually be city,
Yeah.
just like what we have here. Just
So
like-
would they be physically the same width? Think about, you're talking about parking. You know, do you be able to have parking on one or both sides of the street?
Well, so there will be, no on-street parking on Robinson, but on our
Right.
private drive,
Right.
Yes.
the roadway will be 20 feet wide. And what I was suggesting is, like you often see, people could pull up and pull half off the road so that you're not inhibiting any traffic coming in or out. And it's plenty long enough to accommodate 6 cars, for the times that may happen. But other than that, each unit does provide 2 parking spaces.
Is all the infrastructure, utilities underground?
Yes. Well, I know, so the electric, I think, is gonna be overhead. I don't think that's underground over in there. But I think that'll be.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if there's a line run down that road.
It has to be
It has to be somewhere.
Yeah, there's a line somewhere.
The Unified Development Ordinance requires all utilities be underground.
Okay. So if ours will be underground going to a pole where we can connect.
Correct.
What kind of a schedule are you talking about?
So, I'm not 100% sure, and the reason that I'm not is that it was agreed that when the zoning modification was permitted for multifamily use, that Robinson be widened. Robinson is very narrow; it's about 13 feet wide, and it's difficult for 2 cars to pass without driving off of the asphalt. So at that time, the Mayor Whirling at the time made the commitment that the city would, at the city's expense, widen Robinson Street. Sufficient to eliminate the concerns that were voiced. And the phasing, the beginning of our construction is going to be tied to that to some degree, whether the road is fully completed or whether or not the lion's share of the work is done, allowing our construction equipment to get in and out, and then maybe do the final capping when there's no more heavy equipment on it. That remains to be seen, but the start date will coincide with the widening of Robinson.
Have we addressed that at all?
Is,
Well, I think we need to
No.
talk to, I think we need to hear the staff report, so, Mark, is that okay if we go ahead and have
Absolutely.
them? Okay, then we'll come back to you. Thank you. So,
Sure, and I will not duplicate what Mr. Havens had said simply because save on time. The history of the site, back in August of last year, the BZA granted a special exception to allow 2-family dwelling on this site. The only condition that was tied to that approval was that drainage plans be submitted for review and approval before construction begins. We did talk about the road widening project, but that was not a condition of approval of that land use because it's a separate item funded by the city. A lot of things need to be in place before that can move forward. They're proposing a minor subdivision, which is 4 lots or less, and we have a special provision in our UDO for an expedited process to allow this kind of infill development to happen. So the expedited process being we consider the primary and the secondary plat at one time. They've submitted full construction drawings and such for review along with their drainage plan for this petition. So with regard to compliance with the UDO, they are in compliance. Minimum lot size in the R1 district is 4,500 square feet, and their lots are almost twice that size. Setbacks, they meet the setbacks with the front setback being 25 feet from Robinson Street and the shared driveway, as well as the minimum side yard setbacks and the rear yard setbacks for each lot in here. There were some additional standards that were requested that are specific to this type of development. And they have complied with that. The first being that the private access easement for a shared drive must terminate approximately 7 feet from the property line to prevent that connection to the circle on private property from being connected. Utility easements are included across the fronts of the properties so that utilities can be run in those areas. The common area is specifically to be labeled as unbuildable, cannot be developed in any way that is set aside for drainage and open space. And also a couple of deed restrictions and covenants that will run along with this. Number one being that shared driveway should be maintained by the developer and or property owners and shall never be the responsibility of the city. And also the ownership and maintenance of the common area is the responsibility of the developer and or the property owners within the development. Additional standards that are contained in the UDO that will be reviewed when applications for individual building permits come in include making sure that the plat is executed and recorded, the covenants are executed and recorded before development can begin. There must be space for at least 2 off-street parking spaces for each unit. And that can be covered or uncovered. So the way they currently show it drawn, it looks like there's at least space for 1 vehicle in the driveway, 1 in the garage. Each unit must have at least 1,000 square feet of living area with at least 600 square feet on the ground floor. This does not count the garage. So just to be clear, that's all living area. The proposed 2-family units will have new addresses assigned off of Robinson Street at the time the building permit is issued, or we can do it for each lot when it's platted. And then the maximum impervious surface coverage is 40% per lot. This includes structures, driveways, decks, patios, etc. So we'll be reviewing those things with the building permit comes in. Staff did receive 3 emails prior to the publication of the staff report. Some of the comments and concerns that were brought up was asking about the timing and plan for the future widening of Robinson Street. Totally reasonable question there. Noted that area properties frequently retain water, so ensuring that additional drainage issues are not created is very important. The question about units being subsidized has already been addressed by Mr. Hammonds. Construction and construction vehicle traffic will be a burden on Robinson Street and could create additional drainage issues. A privacy fence is requested to separate the subdivision from neighbors. They asked where visitors of the new residents will park, so we already kind of talked about that. A neighbor had noted that limestone is very deep in the area, which makes trenching difficult and contribute to drainage issues. And also standing water is a problem within many yards in the area. So with all that being said, staff does recommend approval of the minor residential subdivisions with the following conditions, and I do want to amend one of those. We'll get to that in a second. Any unresolved issues identified by the technical advisory committee shall be remedied before the plat is recorded, and this is primarily that drainage plan. We get into that review after approval of the plat. No sense reviewing if for some reason the plat's not approved. With regard to a paved and striped parking area for visitors, it does make sense, and I did look at the plat that additional parking could be on that proposed shared driveway. We just need to make sure that there's enough room to get in and out of the subdivision if parking does back up. And then lastly, staff's proposing a 6-foot opaque privacy fence be installed along the western and southern property lines at the request of those neighbors. The fence should be installed prior to the completion of that 3rd duplex, regardless of the number. So reason for that is it's hard to get construction equipment in and out, grading the property and everything like that with fences in the way. So we would expect that to come in when that last structure is installed. So I'd be happy to answer any questions relative to the UDO or comments within.
Yeah, but I wasn't listening evidently. Did you say each duplex has a two-car garage?
That I don't know. I say they have to have at least room for two vehicles. It could
One
be
be in a garage,
driveway
one-
or in a garage.
The two-story will have two-car garage on each side. The single-story ranch style is a single-car garage for each unit.
So they'll have one car in the garage and one in the driveway?
Basically, and that meets the ordinance.
Okay.
Did you then remove that talking area?
Yes.
Recommendation? Okay, I just want to make sure you did.
Well, I guess my question, I don't know if it goes towards the developer, if it goes towards the city, if we're gonna open or widen that road, it's one lane. You're gonna have issues with snow removal, trash pickup. So what's the plan for the road? Do we know?
So I know there was like you mentioned before, there was discussion about this, and to my knowledge, it wasn't budgeted for the 2024 fiscal year. Is that correct? Yeah, so, when you goes to widening road, there's a lot more than just putting 8 foot of stone down and making it wide or whatever. There's utilities that possibly have to be relocated. There's engineering. There's a lot of factors involved with one of those projects. So not having the funds allocated for the 2024 fiscal year, I spoke with Aaron on, some options or what we can do, and ultimately, we'll have our engineering team look at things, but I don't know that the funds are there for the 2024 year. So that's, everything that we have allocated is tied to a project as is. So until we get a cost estimate and a task order out to see what the whole scope would be for widening that's going to be the discussion for budget time for.
Well,
Yeah,
I
so-
just drove down, took some measurements and stuff before I came in, and then obviously the power poles.
Sure. Which
So you're
again,
right, utilities and everything are gonna have to be moved.
Yeah.
So are we saying then they can't start construction until that's solved? Is what I heard earlier.
Which does it make sense to do the road first or do the addition first?
so you don't want construction going over a new road
Well,
with the concrete trucks and all that, so
Guys won't be able to get around the road, it's too small either.
correct. Yeah.
Damn if we do, damn if we don't. We're
Yeah,
allowed
I
to ask
don't-
questions out here.
Yeah. What's that?
We're allowed to ask questions out here.
In just a moment.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a double-edged sword. So, usually the final product's the road that's put in afterwards after construction, concrete trucks weigh, I don't know how many tons. So again, with this not being put into the 24 budget, that's something that I'll get having discussion with Aaron and our engineering team to what the entire scope of the project will be. If it was just we lay 8 foot of gravel down and call it a day, it's a different scenario than all the engineering utilities. There's a lot to widening the road. You don't want to just widen a little section. You want to do so there's possibilities of looking into a CCMG grant. I think Aaron mentioned that, but there's some things we can look into. It has not happened to date. So.
So then it would be my idea that we would at least try to figure out how we're gonna do that before we go on and start saying you are gonna do it.
The first part will be funding for the council at
Correct.
budget time.
Correct, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
You haven't funded it, and you don't know where the money's gonna come from, so we're gonna agree to let them do something, but not let them do it until we come up with a decision, or you're gonna let them build, and then I think it's unsafe that you're taking concrete trucks, dump trucks, gravel trucks, all that down that road after I just drove it. I mean, I think that's unsafe for the neighbors and everybody right now.
3 hours ago, I'm saying that's, you'd stretch to call it a lane and a half.
yeah, it's definitely a skinny road.
And then we blocked that
Yeah.
road off and made it one way. So there's really no entrance and exit.
On top of that, we'd have to have the removal of the first house there on the right. The fence would have to be gone, right? Road is widened.
Yeah, so there's part of the engineering scoping is right of ways. you know, do we have enough how much right of way do we have?
Last house on the left, you just about open the door of your truck and hit the front door of that house.
Yeah.
Yep, so
it's widened.
yeah, that one site's, it's very tight. Yeah, there's not a lot of right of way on that side at all, so.
From a practical standpoint, if they had come forward and wanted to put one duplex or a single family home on that lot, they could go directly to applying for a permit. Simply because there's public right of way and our ordinance only says you need a certain amount of road frontage, you can build. So I think that as far as timing goes, they would be entitled to at least one unit.
But you still have the same amount of traffic going down the road doing the same things if they did 3 units or 1 unit. You still have the same
Dump trucks,
safety
concrete
hazards, same
trucks.
trucks.
Yeah.
But everybody that built on that street faced that situation when they built
And
it.
and I would say that if anybody was trying to build on that street, that it's unsafe in the city. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what these guys trying to do. I think we're trying to get the cart in front of the horse here. Is my problem. I think something's being shoved before we need to do it. It's, you know, up here, drainage is still concerned with me. We're just gonna allow it to be a wet spot, which may or may not, without any paper that I haven't seen on drainage, cause water backup in other people's properties.
Which would,
I
when we
haven't seen
do,
that paper.
with the drainage review would change if we added curb or, you know, if we, would that change the drainage report? That's, you know, that's something too, that what they have submitted is going to be different now that we have a, you know, a full road and all that. So,
Be a question for, yeah, Matt.
yep.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, it sounds like to me, we need our engineer to say what needs to happen and what can happen.
Yep.
Before we go ahead and just do it, like what they were talking about in our last meeting about up on the South Hill. We know there's a drainage issue. But we're gonna go ahead and build and we'll just see if it causes problems later.
We don't want that.
No, which was depending on the outcome of this evening, which, you know, whatever happens tonight, we'll get our team, our engineering team on a task review and all that. But that's a separate task review for the scoping of the project compared to the scoping of the widening of the road. So,
Yeah, I don't have a
Yeah,
problem with
so-
what they're trying to do. I think it's great
No,
that
yeah.
Delphi's trying to grow. I enjoy that I see him building different
Sure.
places. I
Yep.
mean, I have nothing wrong with that at all, but I still think that it comes down to
agreed.
putting the horse in front of the cart, so we're not causing more issues down the line that we have to spend more money on because we didn't take the time to fix the thing before we did it.
Right.
I'm sorry, did you say this was zoned R1?
Yes.
And the staff is,
The duplex is 2-family home, right?
Yes,
So we got 2, 4, 6 families, correct?
yes,
Why is it not you could R2?
because they got a special exception from the BZA to allow the home, the 2-family dwelling on that site.
One.
1 2-family, yeah, correct. And so if they wanted more, they would have to subdivide, which is why they're here before you tonight.
So it needs to be R2 to begin with, correct?
No,
If they want to do 3.
No.
3 2-family homes.
no. The zoning stays the same. They've already got a special exception for the land use, so the land use is approved. In order to
BCA gave that.
create more units,
August
or create
21st
more
from
lots,
that.
they have to subdivide. Yeah.
My opinion is what it is. Even with special exception, it says 2 families. 2-family dwelling.
Correct. And
Not
so-
3 2-family dwellings.
Exactly, which is why they're wanting to subdivide to allow those more buildings.
3 lots, in other words,
Correct.
sidestepping the rules.
No, it's an alternative, so.
Seems to me that the city needs to make a commitment before we can do anything or we can move very much forward. And I think they should, because basically last year, these folks came and the city did make that commitment, or at least maybe it wasn't written down, but certainly it was understood by, I think everybody was here. The city would address that. I think that the city needs to make sure that we are committed to doing that.
Yeah, and I'm on board with it. It makes sense, but again, there'll be a matter of council approving committing funds and It's,
council did approve not funding necessarily, but they did commit to widening.
yes, that was done 2 years ago, I believe.
But we
Yeah,
still
so-
haven't established funds for it.
Correct.
so
Because it hasn't been
Approved
brought
or
up.
not, if there are no
Correct.
funds, you can't build.
Correct.
Could I add to that? And
Sandy,
whoever.
Sandy.
Can we wait until public?
Really relates to the budget questions.
Oh. Okay, go ahead.
Cameron, if I could just
So,
tack on to the
hang
discussion.
on a second, Mark.
I'm sorry.
So the question about budgeting for 2024 has been, raised several times. We were kind of in a chicken egg situation, didn't want to budget for something that we didn't know. The chances were that it might not happen at all. They might not come forward with a subdivision plan, it might not get approved. So again, it's sort of a chicken egg situation. And it would be appropriate for us to.
Sort of bad planning, then again, cart in front of the horse. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to promise something that we can't do until we can do it, and you can't do it till you got money, so. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I just don't want us to keep trying to improve and not fix something before we improve it.
I agree. I hope you build all over the city. But I don't want to see you build there and cause 3 problems instead of fix 1.
Yeah, and if we can, money wasn't earmarked for this, but if there's, we look through and there's funds that we'll see what the engineering comes back at, which it's gonna be, again, it's gonna be a bigger number than just putting 4 foot of gravel. It's gonna be, yeah, so if that's something that we could get through with the funds of 2024, absolutely, because it's already been committed. So it's something we want to keep like you said, we want to keep progress going, but do it in the right steps. So if the funds were there, that were allocated for other projects, or whatever, we had extra funds that we could do this in 24, that by all means, we've already made that commitment. So as far as being earmarked for this year, that hasn't been done. So that's something, again, we'll have to have our engineering team out there to get us a total price and see what that's going to cost for the whole scope of the road, not just a 4 foot section of it. So
Deb, is that something we could add to the staff recommendation?
Well, I
And
mean,
make it subject to?
it's the plan commission's purview to put any other conditions on the timing and things like that. I mean, your objective is to maintain the health, safety, and general welfare of the community
that's a big
and its residents, and that would fall under that blanket.
All right. Does the Commission have any more questions for staff?
Can I make just one comment as you guys are all thinking through this? As it relates to the road, Cameron, you know how long I've been working trying to make this thing happen. Well over a year, probably 2 years. We're committed to it. This is $1.5 million project, so we're very committed to it. However, you've known right from the beginning that we are opportunity zone investing. And when we sold our business, this is all Internal Revenue Service rules. When we filed to become opportunity zone investors, we have a limited time frame with which we have to get the monies, our capital gain, was realized from the business. We have a limited amount of time to get that money invested. And we've already gone and have asked for an extension. So I don't have an unlimited amount of time. It sounds like we're running out. If it's not something that can happen this year, that's going to be problematic for us. So I don't know what all's involved in teeing this up and looking at things and trying to get to an answer.
Yeah.
But I would tell you, for us, time is somewhat of the essence.
Yeah. So the scoping of a task order for this particular project is scoped to the parcels, to the drainage in the particular property. So to change that to a task order now, that's gonna be road widening and all that's a completely separate task order. So that's what I'll get started on tomorrow. I don't know, the engineering timeframe on all the options for that. That's not something I do every day, but it's gonna change the whole scope of just this property and the structures on it to an entire engineering of right of way and all that. So depending on what that outcome is, that's what's gonna be, where we're at with it. So again, if there's funds for this year that we have left and it all falls into play, absolutely. I mean, I'm with him. It's, you want to do it the right way and do the road the right way, that way it matches up. But again, it's going to come down to what the engineering says, and we're already committed to doing it. So time frame wise, I don't have an answer for that. But we can get started on it, see what the estimate is, and go from there. So
Financing, I didn't mean to interrupt.
nope, sure, good.
Financing, project specific. In other words, do you have other property we can help expedite your, and help you with it, other than that one?
I have other properties that we are underway on. This is kind of
I realize that.
the final one.
This is any other projects coming up other than that one.
No, they're already.
To
not
in
beyond
progress.
The Robinson
Beyond what
Street
you know.
at this point, yeah.
And again, I think one of the reasons why the whole scoping of the widening, all that wasn't done before is because we didn't know, when you don't know the outcome of what's gonna happen in a meeting, you don't spend thousands of dollars on engineering until you get to that point. So it's the chicken and egg. You wait till it's been granted. Otherwise, you waste the engineering money on plans that's just gonna go in the desk. So
Do we need a solid commitment from the council now?
it's already been committed.
We've already committed to
Yes,
doing it.
yes,
We
it just gotta be allocated as far as budgeting or
It was for
funds.
the funding, because we did not have the final answer and still didn't have the final answer.
So we're committed. It's just a question of getting our ducks lined up.
Yeah.
So they
See
see
where
what their
the
ducks
things-
lined
Yeah,
up.
I
Yeah,
believe the
so-
council passed a resolution and ordinance in 2021 or 2022 that's
Thanks.
committing to do it. So now it's just a matter of the funding. Yes.
Is this one of those things where we could pass it pending the financing on Robinson Street? So that way they know that it's gonna happen. It's just gotta figure out where the financing would come from.
Yeah, but you could, but the issue that's going to be the time frame of how far.
Yeah, I don't,
Yeah, because I don't know the time frame of when they do a task order for the entire, when you do a CCMG grant. They're time consuming. There's a lot of engineering.
All new
so-
engineering too, right?
What's that?
I said you're gonna have to do a whole new engineering setup on that for the roads. We haven't had that work done.
Correct. So the task review that would be attached to this is the task review order for that property. This would change it to not only that, but to match up with the widening of the road. So it all comes into play. So it's going to add to the task order that's on hold now until after. Yeah. So,
I just don't.
so the time frame on that,
So
I don't have
do it in a
control of
year,
that,
yeah.
but yep.
I hate to be the Debbie Downer. Whether it gets built or not, is widening the road really gonna fix much? If you're gonna have a road that's X amount wider, which I don't, have we said how much wider the road would be? Cause last year, that guy came in here with a picture of like a Tahoe or a Suburban on the road and was like, look, you got this much on either side. Now, if we widen the road a few feet, but then we add 6 or 8 vehicles of constant traffic to that road, school time, work time, you're still gonna have a clogged road, which now is closer to people's houses.
So if the city takes over widening the road, we have to build it to our standards that we have, so it'd be a full out road.
Which typically roads are, each lane's 10 feet. So, again, looking to see how much right of ways, the one side's skinny. The other side, you see what you have there. They do all that in the engineering part. So,
And then maybe if you're digging up the roads, you can check on drainage.
It would not have to have drainage like some sand and mill.
Go into the same.
correct. Yeah, that'd be all part of the task review order.
Out there.
And he has an engineering team too, so that it would be part of the,
Some of those houses, the property sets lower. And the runoff would be like 3 houses wouldn't.
All right, so for sheet flow, you want to make sure that the water that's coming off his private drive is not just gonna go wash down into the houses. So that would be part of the,
Don't go somewhere.
correct.
Well, that's your area, you know.
Yeah, so,
I think that's why he was talking about the common area being that natural drainage field for the 3 new. So,
yeah, but it's so off the drive, they calculate water that goes off of homes, off of, so the drive, the ingress egress, now that's gonna go to the, so there's,
Might help kind of volume of water.
correct.
So, Not then you got kids all over that neighborhood, and you got a pond there. Yeah.
Regarding the drainage, I will tell you, just for your knowledge, last Friday when we had the big storm in the morning, I happened to be over in Washington at that project. But obviously, we got rained out, and during that heavy period of rain, I thought, I'm gonna go over to Robinson because I want to see what's gonna happen here. And I went over, and there was no water running off of the roadway at all. Now, when you get closer to Samuel Milroy, where the road, the grade begins to go down to Samuel Milroy, there was water flowing. But I went back to the property 2 different times after that. There was 0 water standing anywhere on the property. There was no puddling at all. And clearly, water is going to run under the road. It goes to the lowest points. But as you get closer to Samuel Milroy from our property, going there, the elevation actually rises just a little bit and then it goes down. Property on the east side of the road is much, much lower. And I think Mr. Pyatt's property is subject to that area just really
It's a drainage
falls
ditch
in
down
that
there.
area. So all that moisture.
That creek.
But I'm saying, and I went back to my civil engineer who did the drainage study. And your comment to me was that our project won't make the drainage issue any worse.
Correct.
Is that
Correct. Yeah, by law, we are not allowed to increase the runoff and make downstream properties worse than they currently are. We cannot contribute to any additional drainage issues that exist. We're not necessarily burdened by any existing drainage issues, except for capacity issues downstream from a stormwater pipe or other system. But the analysis was made that the on-site property and anything upstream, the amount of water that's leaving the property currently cannot increase beyond what we are doing on site with any improvement that we make, whether it's driveways, public or private, streets, sidewalks, whatever it may be, or even simply regrading a lot and changing a slope. We cannot increase that water leaving our property. And for the record, my name is Jason Miller with Randall Moore Associates. I'm a professional engineer.
I would have a question just because I don't know, not to challenge you here. I'm just not knowing. So if you're gonna have paved drive, concrete for your driveways, wouldn't the water increase running off of that versus having ground where it can soak in?
So that's a multifaceted answer. The drainage report shows that the water leaves and with a certain ground cover and slope for a specific rainfall period. We looked at what's currently there now and come up with, using the drainage ordinance requirements, what a volume of water is leaving the site under existing conditions before any development occurs. So the condition as it is right now. When the project goes through, we are changing not just the condition of the material, but we're also changing the slopes. Some might be getting steeper, some might be getting flatter, but we're also planting more dense grass. And when you have changing in surface material, that combination as a whole is what we look at under proposed conditions. The other fact is this is a very small watershed. The smaller the watershed, then the smaller the incremental increase in change or discharge to the property becomes perceptible. So a larger watershed with a much larger plan is incrementally larger for the discharge. So we've submitted a plan. Your engineer would review it and approve it before we would be able to move forward. So
So would you say, since you gave me all the professional, would you say then the water will be more or less runoff into the area you're not building? Is
It
that the
will-
way you're grading it? So
Correct.
the wet zone holds the water?
That's correct, and it will release at no greater than the rate that is going there now.
Normally I would agree with you, but on top of solid limestone, I don't agree with you. I ain't gonna happen.
Well, you're also, if I could interject, a hypothetical, you're assuming, I believe, that the water is infiltrating into the groundwater. Part of that could be that it's going to be held and then discharged over time.
The same thing, I live down by the canal. The same thing happens on Packet Avenue. Comes down Union Street, comes down Washington Street. And on Packet Avenue, it's tilted the wrong way, just like that street is. And it goes nowhere. It ponds a foot and a half deep, right in front of a apartment building. I own the property on the corner, where they built two new houses. And Watson Construction put a drain in there. That solved this end of the street. Like, it was flowed like that, makes a hump and it flows on the other end. But it didn't fix that end. It's gonna have to be drained, and the street is the same width as that one, if not narrow. The same problem as down, they don't go in.
And that may be something that, your engineer for the city would need to consider if there's water south of this specific property, that where it stands in a yard or it goes down towards Samuel Milroy, that all may need to be accounted for.
Normal conditions, I totally agree with. But on limestone, that'll work. It runs off.
Sure.
It almost okay.
I don't disagree with that statement.
It's okay.
Sure. I would defer to your engineer that you have, city has hired to review our calculations and ask that same question of them.
And again, I'd love to see you build all over the city. I'm all for houses. But that's it's just a bum deal on that location.
I'm done, Sandy.
Done?
Right.
Okay. The time is 6:52. I am going to suspend our meeting for the public comments.
We don't get any comment on this.
You get ready.
That's what you're gonna do.
So, so at 6:52, I've suspended the meeting for public comments. I ask that you keep it limited to 3 minutes, that you state your name and your address, and we will start. Okay.
My name is Randall Pyatt. I live at 1219 Seminole Road, right there on the corner of the two. I've been there just shy of 33 years, and I've seen all this firsthand, how the water drains and everything else. Before I get into that, I want to go back where it was stated that the road didn't have to be widened before construction started. It was stated in the council meeting by the mayor at the time that the road would be widened before construction started. So are we gonna say whatever we want in one meeting and change it in the next? Or we're gonna build off this every meeting?
We'll look at the, I'll look at the minute.
I need the exact time
No.
on the video.
I'll go back and look at those minutes.
Is
and
stated
see what's
before
there.
construction started.
Yep.
Secondly, it was stepped on about Elizabeth Street. It was deemed in a zoning board meeting that it's too dangerous to have any traffic that way on Elizabeth Street. That's why there was never an access to there. So any traffic on there is basically not allowed for his development. Okay, next is the parking. He made it sound all good and nice for one family having a party at one time on a dry sunny day. Take a week when it's been raining all day. And say it's Thanksgiving time. You have 3 gatherings. There's no way there'll be enough room for cars to park. There's no street parking. Where are they supposed to go? What if it snowed outside and it's Christmas time? You have snow drifts on the side of the road. You can't pull off on the road to park cars. And lastly, the drainage. I sent some pictures in. I don't know if you guys got it.
Mhm.
My house sits on solid limestone. It is 2 foot below the grades. I was there when the water main was run on that side of the road. It took a special trencher to get through the solid limestone to put the water mains in. I currently have water running down Robinson Street. It fills with, cuts through my driveway. I got a path there where it runs down through to a drain I had to install. So it drains out beside my garage on each side. I've had over a knee deep water all summer long one year because it rained and it rained and it rained. Then this becomes a mosquito infested area. Am I supposed to do it more, if you do the road and it's all level, kind of smoothed out, is it going to add to the water running down? Is it going to increase the water on it? What are we doing? You can't convince me you're going to take 3/4 of this property and drain it on 1/4 of it with only a couple feet of soil there to absorb it. And it's 2 foot higher than the property this is south of it. The water's not going to stay on that corner. It's going to run off somewhere else. That's all the decisions I have.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, my name's Craig Potts. I live at 102 North Robinson Street. I live right on the corner as soon as you turn on Robinson Street. I have seen so many near misses with people trying to fly on that road or fly off of it. I've seen kids almost get hit. There is no way that 2 cars can pass. And if I remember right, the last meeting that we had here with the old mayor, that road would be widened before any construction started. Now, you're sitting here making plans to see, if we have the budget or not. But if you pass it, if you go ahead and pass it right now, who says that it's just not going to slide through and they're going to go ahead and build whatever they want, do what they want, and nothing ever happens with the road? And then the neighbors that live in that area have to deal with all that traffic. Plus, there's over 13 kids that live around there. And since that road got dead end, all those kids play on that street. Before they could not because of the traffic that flew through there. You have tons of kids playing on that street. They love it. I love it. I love seeing kids outside enjoying it instead of inside playing video games. The other problem I have is the water runoff. I live on that street. I don't think that they are taking into account the limestone. You're not going to have, it is going to run everywhere. With me living right where I do on that corner, I see water, just a little bit of rain, runs right down my driveway, right across to Rainey and Chris's, and right across into that big hole that they have. And there's nowhere for that water to go. If you're going to do this, you need to do it properly. You need to have the drainage put in for all the water. You need to take into account the safety of all the kids and all the people that live on that road. If you do this and don't do anything to the road, like it's been brought up, all the heavy equipment going up and down this road, plus the traffic trying to get in and out, it's going to be a disaster. And if any of you have ever been down that road, when you turn that corner, how's a big truck? Or you think they're going to slow down and turn that corner? I don't think so. I think they're going to do 20, 25 mile an hour around that curve. When they do that and there's a little kid there, because I tell everybody, do not go past our mailbox. Because if you go any further, if the car cut, that gives them plenty of time to stop, because I have seen it. And the last thing I would like to bring up is that Mr. Hammond brought up, and I have nothing against them building and stuff, and I've been arguing with them since this all started. But to me, when he said that they have a time limit to spend this money, it sounds like to me that he is more worried about him spending his hard-earned money or the tax write-off money than the safety of the people here in Delphi. And it's bad enough that the taxpayers are paying for him to make money off of us. He should be a little bit more considerate. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? All right. Hearing none, I will call the meeting of the Delphi Planning Commission back to order at 6:59. All right. Now, Mark, do you have any closing remarks you'd like to make?
Well, many, of the issues that were brought up, particularly around the roadway, had been discussed at several points along the way in getting the zoning modification approved and so forth. It is no secret that Robinson is a narrow street. It's 13 feet wide. But my wife and I, we've been doing business in Delphi since 2006. When we owned our McDonald's restaurant, and so I'm very familiar with the town, but there's a number of streets, and we brought these up by name, and at times when we travel them, that are as narrow or more narrow than Robinson is. A lot of it's generated by parking on both sides of the street, and you got enough room for one car to go by. And two cars can't pass, so somebody's got to pull in and hold off and wait for somebody else to come. It doesn't justify, the road needs to be taken care of. That would be the right way to go about this. Outside of that, a lot of what's been brought up, I think if we go back to what Deb had put in her report, what we're asking to do, we are compliant. We've met all the compliance requirements. The drainage issue, that we have an engineer here that's indicating what we're doing is not going to contribute to any increase amount of runoff. That was a very thorough, comprehensive study that he did. If you haven't seen it, it's about a 24-page report. It's a hydrologic study. Much of it goes well over my head. But I know that there was a lot of thought and a lot of study put into it. Parking could be thrown anywhere in Delphi, and they could invite 100 people, and there could be cars all over the place. It's happened. It's happened to all of us. If that happens, the only thing I can say is call the police and tell the police, this is out of control. People are parked where they're not permitted to park. And I can make sure that, on our property, that there's proper signage, regarding parking. And if it gets outside of that, it's very simple. We call the police department and we have the police come deal with it. I can't control something getting out of control, but we can react to it. And we can post what's allowed and what's not allowed. And then, use law enforcement as necessary to correct that issue. I think that's all that I need to say.
Okay, let's go back to discussion with the home committee.
So I don't think it's any secret that we got to fix Robinson Street. I don't have a problem with their plan. We have to fix Robinson Street first before we start allowing stuff go on. Now, do I feel like we need to completely redo Robinson Street to do final pavement and stuff like that while they're getting construction equipment in? No, because we'd have to go back and fix it. I do have a question for you. At the end of the private drive that's on the Elizabeth Street side, would you put some sort of fencing or barricade to prevent people from just driving through? Because we know how people are, and they would just, nothing's there, they're going to go drive right
They'll
through.
drive through it. Yeah. No, it will be barricaded. Yeah.
Okay.
Like the Heartland and.
Yeah. Oh, God, you can see the horse.
They
Yep,
wore some good trails and yeah.
they sure did.
The shortcut of sorts.
Yes.
I just want to tell you, I'm not against anything you're trying to do. I'm really not. And as far as, I know there's a lot of small streets and there's a lot of different things that are in an old town like we have. I live in a 150-year-old home. But as we advance and try to improve and we moved out of the county APC and put it into the city, then I believe when I said I would help, our due diligence is try not to stay with status quo and move ourselves forward. And that's the only reason I think the road needs to really be done. The water is terrible down there. It all runs to, what is that, Randy? Gut Creek?
Oh, what's called it?
Yeah, there's a drainage creek down there. It's a wet area and it's always going to be, but if it seems like we'd address the road situation like you were told in the beginning, we wouldn't be in this spot. So.
Yeah, I
And I'm sorry for any delays that I'm giving you. It's not against anything you're trying to do.
And I didn't bring that situation up to justify anything.
I understand.
Just a comparison, but I applaud the city for trying to move in the right direction here and eliminate these kind of situations. However, you know, the tax dollars that being generated by the project I'm trying to put up will go a long way in paying for that road improvement.
I realize that.
Over the years, it'll more than pay for the road.
I realize that, sir. I'm just saying that it doesn't, you know, it's not to do us any good if we cause harm to your buildings or anybody else. Let's say that something does go wrong and we get like 100-year flood and rain and stuff and it backs up into your new buildings. You don't want that either. So I just think it all should be evaluated by our people and figure out what we can do for the road, but that's up to the mayor and the council.
Real straw man argument to argue one road for the sake of another. You know, we got a lot of short roads, but it doesn't negate any of the hazards we've all recognized, health, safety, well-being wise of both individuals and children on the street. I get it, you're gonna have a tax burden, but I don't think any of us should overlook any of the safety aspects of this either. $1.5 million, that's a lot. You got a town with a median income of 45 grand a year, $1.5 million, you can live off the dividends. Most of these guys don't have $1.5 million in a 401k. Then
No, that's not what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm trying to build housing in communities where housing is sorely needed. That's what I'm doing.
at $18,000 a year, that's half of a household
And
income
that
for
doesn't
Delphi.
really have anything to do with whether or not I'm in compliance.
It doesn't, you're right.
I mean, that's,
Correct.
You're correct.
that's your feeling, but I think we're trying to deal with some facts here.
Correct.
Okay. Debbie, you said something about, like adding an amendment to what, the staff recommendation, or you said you were talking about that later?
Oh, removing, the recommended parking area.
Oh,
Item number
okay.
2, because I checked the plat and there is enough room for 6 vehicles to park on the shared driveway.
Okay, so you're removing.
As far as the city, what, I mean, there's a resolution passed by the council 1 or 2 years ago. I'm open to honoring that. So it's just a matter of how do we'll have to see what the engineering comes in and so the city is committed to widening the project after the engineering, if it can be done this year, if the funds are available. If not, we're still obligated to by council approval, 2 years ago, Spencer? Yeah, so I'll pull that resolution.
So we don't really need to send it to the council. They've already approved it. Approved it.
Approved the road widening, I believe it was 2 years ago, yes.
This is like the site plan.
Okay, okay, we're gonna need to talk about whether we are going to request the approval of the primary plat and the secondary plat. Under the stipulations of, one was, the drainage. And one was fencing that would be installed on the western property line and the southern property line. That western property line would take care of the Elizabeth Street issue. Do you want to do a stipulation on the timeline of widening of Robinson Street? Just to get the plat either approved or not?
Like the mayor said, we can't tell you timeline right now.
No, but we could add a stipulation.
there's-
to the approval
Regarding
that
it.
says it's approved.
Yeah, we could, at this
Thanks.
point, are we going to approve the primary plat and secondary plat? Following the conditions that the staff recommended, and we could add the widening timeline of roads.
So, so are you, UDO and everything they're all compliant with that?
It's all
That's
compliant.
all fine. It's just the road that we're questioning, right?
Right, well, that, and
And the
they had.
The
they had a
drainage, the
couple-
fence.
And the drain, yeah, the drainage and then the fence that would stop any kind of driving onto the cul-de-sac on Elizabeth Street and then on the southern edge.
Southern edge, that's going to be.
That was requested by the
Sarah's-
neighbors. to have
Yes.
that included.
The
Vance's
fence
house
down
is
here.
sold.
They're speaking. So that's their plan.
Mhm. Yeah, yep, yep.
Am I allowed to ask a question about fencing or are we past that?
You're here as well.
I guess what my question is fencing is fencing a requirement for what we're doing? We have planned to put fencing up anyway,
No,
to
it's not.
give the renters our leases some privacy. But I don't know that we plan to go all the way down, putting in 220 and over 300 feet of fencing. It's very expensive.
Very expensive.
The comment came from a neighbor that multiple times in her short paragraph, short email, referred to this as a government subsidized housing. I would want to fence up if there was government subsidized housing moving in right next door to me, but that's not what's happening. Our buildings will probably be the nicest looking homes on the street. And I don't say that to brag, but they're not going to be eyesores, is my point. There will be some fencing put up, but is it a requirement? Is it stated anywhere that it's, for the approval of this, to put fencing up, or is that somebody's desire?
Next
It's
discretion of the
it's not
board.
The UDO,
Right.
but it is at the purview of the plan commission to establish a separation.
Correct.
If neighbors feel there's conflict that could occur.
Said you were gonna do it anyway, right?
Well, we were gonna do it, basically, when you come outside in the backyard, each of those areas is gonna have private areas. And, we would put fencing up there. But to run it all the way down the whole property line, I'm not saying we had considered to do that. I like the green space, I like the openness. If you have a fence running down there for 220 feet, you're not gonna see anything on the other side of it. And I'm not sure that that's gonna add any beautification to that area. If anything, it segregates it more from the neighborhood. And I think it won't lend anything, but I think it'll detract.
Can I just have a comment on fencing? I can kind of see what they were saying. They want their privacy from 6 more families in their side yard or backyard from not being onto their property. That was what the neighbor probably saying they want fencing for, not for the people moving in there now and these duplexes privacy, but for their property that live there already.
How many people have fences now in that neighborhood?
Nobody.
It's a single family unit, nobody needs a fence. We all know each other.
On the other part, you might meet the people that move in and be good neighbors to them. You don't know that yet. You don't know that you're gonna get bad people. I mean, do we answer that question?
Let me bring
Hang
up,
on, we
let
didn't
me
answer.
bring up maybe to amend that staff recommendation to,
Can't we just, make a motion and add whatever stipulations we feel we need to add?
okay, okay,
So we don't have to add, we don't have to amend the staff report. Correct.
okay.
More stipulation at a time, right?
Well, like we'd say, we approve it if this business. And
Yeah, you can put that in a motion.
Okay, all right. Do I have a motion to,
Anyone want to make a motion?
Yeah, if I wanna make
More
it.
discussion, we can always make a motion to table, right? Anybody feels like we need to do more discussion? Need more due diligence done by.
You can make any motion you wish.
No.
No, I mean, it's your motion if you make it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're done talking, you want a motion to send it on or not to send it on? Is that what you're looking for?
I need a motion to send it on, revise.
There's no send it on.
No, it's
We approve,
yeah.
we deny,
Right.
approve with condition.
I'll,
You're the final say.
I'll throw out a motion. I'll throw out a motion saying that we approve the primary and secondary plotting of this with the terms of Robinson Street has to be done first. It needs to, that it has to be done. You already said there's gonna be some sort of blockage at the end of your private drive, correct? Okay,
We would need to, I would recommend adding that to the motion.
to make sure to make it for, okay, formality of adding, the blockage at the end of their private drive, so that way no one can drive through their private drive onto Elizabeth Street. And then also the drainage and irrigation study be, talked with our city engineer once the road's done too.
Could you repeat that?
Oh, boy. Throwing it all in one. So I made the motion.
She's typing, I can hear it, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I made a motion to approve the primary and secondary plotting as long as Robinson Street is redone. The blockage of the end of the private drive going to Elizabeth Street, so no vehicle can pass through there and drive over the grass. And then also for the irrigation and drainage to be in compliance with the city engineering.
I second that.
Can I ask for a little clarification?
There's discussion after the second.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Dick seconded it.
Okay. Now, discussion?
So when you say Robinson Street done,
What?
That's my question.
Okay, so Robinson Street be built within our UDO standards.
Like done, like the blacktop is
Yeah.
on, like it's all done.
and that's for any groundbreaking or per what they currently have, like Deb mentioned, they could put up one structure. And then the road gets finished and then they build the other two.
I guess we should have asked that.
Because that was one thing that Deb mentioned earlier, that they're within their own means now to build one structure per the exception they were given. So is it build one structure, have construction going on while
Or
we're
the-
also working on the road and then build the other two?
We should have discussed that before.
How about
obtaining
funding?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the whole part of the Robinson.
No, that's
Street.
what I mean about finding, if we're finding funding, well, of course, never mind.
I think you're on the right track. Big part of it.
Well, I realize it's a big part of it, but I trying to find ways to allow them to start building with it. And I don't
Yeah.
want them to, I don't want to build a brand new road with brand new pavement and drive heavy
Yeah.
equipment up and down it.
It's hard to build the road while you're building the house too,
Yeah.
so. Like Deb mentioned,
But
within
they're gonna be
means-
utilities moved and everything, so it's gonna be a while. That's the only thing.
Yeah, there's poles right out against
Just
it.
Yeah.
to clarify, sorry, for maybe for everyone. They can start building one structure tomorrow. Or not.
If they didn't go through with the subdivision part,
They can't do it because it's not subdivided.
they can't do multiple
Right.
units on there. They could do one duplex or one single.
Which doesn't take it to the subdivision classification.
Right, but they could put it where their subdivision is gonna
They
be.
could.
They could start tomorrow
And build it.
and,
And at that
Build
point, it's
one.
still a single, it's not a
Right.
subdivision
and then
until
they
they,
began. with-
Or all the
But-
setbacks the same,
Or building a road. But that's right.
their
right.
setbacks be the same.
Yeah.
yes, that doesn't change.
So they basically.
Unless they
pick
pick
out-
the subdivision,
pick out one
split
spot
off
and
and
go,
it's all one
I wanna build this
parcel.
house and call it good for now, until we approve. the plot.
Until, right,
Until we approve it.
and I don't know if it would, wait, right. Cause I don't build subdivisions, but.
You could make it subject to what are the ordinance that was passed, or the resolution was passed for the widening of.
Wish I just had that number. I could refer to that number, but I
Yeah.
don't have it. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head.
It's all covered in that, though, so.
I call for the question.
Okay. Question. We have a first and we have a motion and a second to approve the primary plat and secondary plat on Robinson Street with the conditions of adding a privacy fence to the west. There's including a remedy for the drainage. And Robinson Street widening timeline. I think I need a bit more clarification on the Robinson
I don't think it's,
Street. Is it
I
gonna
think-
be
funding, timing. I don't know how you want to word it in your motion, but or your,
As if Robinson Street gets done within our UDO standards.
so it had,
I mean,
they had to wait for the second one at minimum for that part, because the first one's not classified as the subdivision, correct?
Right.
So before, yeah,
before
so
they can build their.
so however you want to word that, but to the attached to the language of the ordinance or resolution that was previously passed, or however you choose to.
So Robinson Street widening per the resolution passed by Delphi City Council.
Was it a resolution or an ordinance? Resolution?
I'd have to go back and look. I don't remember what it was.
Resolution / ordinance
There you go.
to the widening of Robinson Street.
Good thing.
Okay.
How are you typing all that?
Hey, it's not easy being the secretary.
All right, all those in favor, say yay.
Yeah.
And opposed, say nay.
No.
All right. With the majority being in the yays, the approval of the primary and secondary plat for the Robinson Street minor subdivision is approved
With the
with
amendment.
amendments.
Yeah.
With conditions. Okay. We got it? Okay, all right. Are there any other, is there any other new business from the floor? Any announcements?
How about old business? Can we do old business?
Yep, we did that before we did new business.
Okay, any announcements?
I have a question
Okay,
about Vine Street. Where are we on Vine Street?
It's still in engineering review.
Is there some reason that it's an issue? It must be an issue because it could have been
Because
resolved.
the property is not owned by the developer.
But on the plat that they showed, they had houses built along Vine Street on both sides. So what property would that be?
I don't know if the plat had it lined up on Vine Street or not. So
Well, it
that's
was,
the,
would have come off of Vine Street.
yeah,
That was all my question. If it's not our property or it's not their property.
yeah, it's
I think
It's
when
hard
they
to-
were proposing it, it was on their property, but we're asking for a construction entrance and more aligning that.
yeah, so the goal is to keep traffic off Riley Road for construction traffic. So
Well,
Vine Street was proposed in phase 3, I believe.
but you're
so,
gonna do it anyway at some point, right?
Gonna do what anyway?
Come off of Vine Street.
Phase 3.
At some point in some phase you are.
Yeah,
We're
that's
just
why
saying,
we're
why
trying to
don't you
put the
just
two together
continue?
now to
That's the only issue.
yeah, and that's what they're working on now is a matter of where the property that the developer owns versus where they're wanting to put the road.
Well,
So
let's say you're gonna do it. So just do it now and
that's
solve the problem now.
what
versus-
they're working on. That's what we've been working on. Yes.
all right. Yes, we just said
No.
the
Nope.
motion.
Trucks.
Well, it'd be a total disaster if it
Yeah.
is.
I don't have no doubt 200 will go in. They own all that, don't they do? Same people own the whole thing.
Yeah, but not for the first phase.
It's
Well,
phased
but
out.
first
Phase
phase-
1's all the way over by Riley Road. So
Eventually, I'm sure that you're gonna have to come off of 200. You know, for whatever you build over there, but
phase 4, yeah.
That's the only safe way
the first
to do it.
2 or 3 phases will come off of Vine Street. That's the main entrance. Or at least that's what they showed the main entrance being. I just hope that we don't let that slide and end up having to use Riley Road.
That's what we're working on now. That's what we've been, that's what the holdup has been, is the safety issue in traffic on Riley Road. So that's what's been reviewed by the engineering teams and the TAC meetings and several discussions, all that. So it's still in process, yes.
I'm counting on you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Thanks, folks.
Shut up, I had hot food. Cold food.